Hello, I'm Paul and you're watching the YouTube channel of the Nissan EV Owners Group. Welcome everyone. Sinclair computers, mixtapes, Rubik's Cubes, Band-Aid, Findus Crispy Pancakes. The 80s. Culturally definitive for many, and in the automotive industry, it was when the supermini really came of age. Smaller than your classic hatchback, but bigger than the city cars that came before it. The Renault 5 had already been on sale for a while when other manufacturers realised they needed an answer. Renault shifted 85,000 units in the UK and huge numbers at home. Keep the Renault 5 in mind, we'll come back to it later. Meantime, the supermini arms race was on. The Micra outlived and outsold the Renault 5 with continuous production from 1982 right through to today. The K11, the British-built second generation car, won European Car of the Year in 1983 and is one of the few cars to get the cockroach car nickname because they're almost impossible to kill. But Micra never really had the street cachet of some of its rivals, probably because it never got a hot halo version. Mocked by many as a mum car, it's still soldiered on. It's been a constant on British roads for more than 45 years, and Sunderland-built Micras have covered those miles largely trouble-free. About 40% of all Sunderland-built Micras are still around. In 2026, we have this. The internal combustion engine powertrains have gone. Micra is exclusively a battery electric vehicle. This one has the bigger 52 kilowatt hour battery, good for 260 WLTP miles, so realistically probably 240. That's not mere city car territory. It's a week's driving for many, and it makes it practical beyond the city. The smaller 40 kilowatt hour variant has 200 miles WLTP. This car is Evolve trim, which is the top specification. It's well spec'd where it counts. Google Auto built in, comprehensive suite of driver aids, and proper buttons for proper functions. Only the optional hands-free parking system is not on this car. What features are unavailable? Heated front screen, LED matrix headlights, leather upholstery, power seats and sunroof, all of which I can live without. Well, I say that. The power front seats would have been nice given how much you're going to be moving the seats in order to fit in a rear seat passenger. More about that later. Leaving out the luxury kit means that it's light. This car is well under 1,400 kilos. This big battery car has a 100 kilowatt motor that's 150 brake horsepower. 0 to 62 takes 8 seconds. Top speed is 93 miles an hour. The small battery car has 90 kilowatts and takes 9 seconds. That's more than enough. Nobody really needs any more than that. 18-inch wheels come as standard across the range. These diamond cut sport wheels are a £500 option. Personally, I think a 17-inch wheel should be an option. It would improve the car. Suspension is McPherson strut multi-link suspension all around. I'm glad they didn't skimp on this part of the chassis. The battery is a lithium-ion pack with 400 volt architecture. The AC charger is 11 kilowatts on it, and DC is 100 kilowatts. It can rapid charge from 15% to 80% in as little as half an hour. Two-tone colour schemes are available on this Evolve model. If you want the grey roof, you can choose between white, black and a dark blue. You can have a black roof, which I prefer, over white, silver, red or one of two blues. Notice how the roof colour extends down the A-pillar. That's a strange choice. Earlier Nissans didn't have this. This was body colour, not roof colour. On lower trim levels, Engage and Advance, the roof is body colour only. It's a small car. It's a smidge under 4 meters long, so don't expect a huge boot space. With the seats up, there's 320 litres in the back of the Micra. With the seats down, it's 1106. That's great. Will it fit an IKEA Malm 6-drawer bookcase? Let's find out. Right, the seats fold forward, it does fit. It's not a flat floor, so you might want to put something smaller in here and something longer on top. The exterior of Micra hinges on these big lights, front and back. It's the primary differentiator between this and its French cousin. This large array is said to be in homage to the K12, which served brilliantly between 2002 and 2010. Are they outsized? Yes. They seem too big for the panel. The Renault 5 array is better, the same for the rear lights. They overpower the design. I expect there's a facelift already in the works that will shrink these a little bit. The bonnet is slightly higher on the Nissan, and there's this styling feature. In car design, it's called a swage line or a character line. Nissan fussily called it a gelato scoop. For me, this is a blatant attempt to differentiation. Given how similar this is to the 5, I guess they felt the need to put differences in where they could. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It integrates quite well with the front headlight, so at least some thought was put into it. I'll tell you what though, these are notoriously hard to repair when dented. It's well known that there isn't a great deal of space in the back of this car. I'm sat behind the driver's seat where the seat is adjusted for my preferences. I'm 5'8", so I'm not that tall in the grand as compared to some other reviewers. This seat is lifted up slightly, so I can get my feet under the seat in front, and that gives me a little bit of comfort. The seat behind the passenger is not. It's low down. It's also slightly further back, and I can't get my toes under the seat in front, and my thighs are well off the seat squab. It would do for people of my height for a short distance, but for anybody who's taller or had to go longer, this is not ideal. Shall we address the elephant in the room? I've mentioned the Renault 5 a few times, so let's set out what happened here. Both cars use the Nissan platform known as CMF BEV. Renault renamed the platform when it's applied to their cars. They call it Ampere Small. Both cars were designed in their respective countries. Renault's production cycle is rather shorter than Nissan's. They go from drawing board to cars rolling out of the factory quicker than Nissan, so it's not unusual that Renault arrived first. Given that a French factory was chosen to build them, it's natural that it gave the 5 priority. The nitty-gritty of this might be summarised as such. If your car shares much of the underpinnings with one of the most highly regarded EVs available today, surely that's a good thing. The interior is grown up. In the front it's a little dull compared to the Renault. There's quite a lot of dark greys here, although the plastics are all good to the touch. The Renault has lots of cloth here, which won't last as well as the plastics in this. Some more Japanese ambience wouldn't have gone amiss though. Many say they prefer the looks of the Renault 5, and some even think it drives better. There's not much evidence for this. The chassis is identical. The Renault's Continental E-Contact 6 are said to be slightly stiffer than the Hankook ions on the Micra, and this might be how Nissan achieves a slightly better efficiency. The front of the Nissan is slightly more rounded too, so aerodynamics might be at play here. I think they're both fabulous looking cars, and if they are dynamically identical or as close as identical can be, then only their looks differentiate them. They're priced the same too. In early 2026, the top range Micra like this one was more expensive than the equivalent Renault 5, but Renault have since added the Roland Garros trim, which has levelled the field. This example is £26,100, the cheapest is £21,000, and these prices include the Tier 1 grant of £3,750. What's wrong with, what don't I like? Well, the brake pedal's too high, definitely. And the brakes are a bit snatchy as well, but it's quite a new car. It's only got 1,500 miles on it, 500 of which I've done. But the brakes are a bit snatchy as well. And low speed maneuvering, it can be a bit lurchy when you're trying to get the brake off and move very slowly in reverse, for example, into a small parking space. It can be a bit lurchy and a bit intimidating when the car you don't really feel in control of the car, which is a shame because the e-pedal works really, really well, and I don't always use e-pedal. I use it in this car in really heavy traffic, but I don't use it otherwise. And you're always in control of the vehicle at low speeds, in e-pedal or not in e-pedal, except when you're doing this maneuvering into a tight parking space, and it can be a bit jumpy. The suspension is harder than I was used to in my Generation 1 Leaf, but they're known to be soft, and perhaps I've been spoiled by the ride in that. It is a little bit hard. Someone I had in this car recently said that it felt like it was sprung for a much faster car, and perhaps it is. I think he's probably right. I've not been able to get less than 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour out of this. Nothing I can do has got it below that. This was recorded in early summer. At the moment it's 9 degrees, so it's not that warm. I took it from here in Buckinghamshire up to Lincoln for a Yorkshire and Lincolnshire EV meet the very first day I got it. And on the A1 with speed cruise control set to 70, it was doing 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour. Now I reckon anything over 4 in an EV these days is pretty good. On the way back, and it's 140 miles. On the way back I used climate control because it was quite warm, and it was 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and I've not been able to move it off 4.5 ever since. And it's a press car. I've driven it in a sprightly manner occasionally. Incidentally, we charged it while we were up in Lincoln at Lincoln Tesla, and it was charging at 95 kilowatts, so it's very close to the advertised 100. Well done, Micra. Other testers have not been able to achieve its WLTP. I'm quite close to it. I think that if I were to drive it more conservatively, I could probably even achieve the WLTP, and that's quite a rare thing. Is this a good car? Yeah, it is, yeah. Is it a really good car? Yeah, I really think it is. Would you choose this over a Renault 5? Well, you could do. Many say it's not as good looking. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's a good looking car. And those that say it isn't good looking are going to drive the price down of this. So you might get a better deal at your local dealership. Thanks for watching. I'm Paul, and you're watching the YouTube channel of the Nissan EV Owners Group. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts, and come back soon for more essential Nissan EV content.